Perfect, perfect. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Good Sport Reviews YouTube channel. We're going to be going through the Liverpool transfer window because deadline day has come and gone. We've seen a lot of exciting transfers yesterday, a lot of exciting transfers over the past few weeks, should I say. But the main talking point, as always, this window has been Liverpool Football Club. Has it been a good window? Has it been a bad window? Let me know in the comments down below your guys' thoughts. What do you think that this transfer window has been like? Would you say it's been good, bad, in between? Give it a rating in the comments of 1 to 10, and I will read all your comments out. And if you could, please make sure to click subscribe. We're aiming for 3,000 by the end of the year, so we want to try and get there as quick as possible, and I can only do that with your guys' help. So please get involved. Let me know what you thought of the transfer window as a whole, and more specifically, what do you make of Liverpool's business this window? Because this was a very unique window, I think. It's been one of the most highly anticipated transfer windows in a long time. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp leaving, Arne Slot coming in. A lot of people thinking there was going to be this big battle chest of funds thrown at him to buy what he wanted, go out and splash the cash. And it wasn't that way. It was in some regards, a lackluster window. In other regards, it's a smart window. And yeah, the main thing is it wasn't what we expected. We thought, or a lot of people thought, that Liverpool were going to go into this transfer window by all sorts of players. Number 6, another centre back. Ignacio was linked. Hincapié was linked. We were linked to about 10 different number 6s. Zubimendi, that whole saga, but none of it materialised. Instead, we've signed 2 players this transfer window in mamardashvili from Valencia, which is a future prospect, and Federico Chiesa from Juventus in one of the most surprising transfers, I think it's safe to say. I don't think many people expected that to happen. Chiesa coming to the he has for £12 million. We're going to get into all that today. We're going to get into the players Liverpool have sold. If I'm looking down, it's because I've got the comments in front of me. So make sure to get involved, guys. And as I say, before we get into it, please make sure to click like and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, 2 seconds to do it. You can do a lot in 2 seconds. And one of the main things is click subscribe. Now, we are going to get into it. We are going to look at the main bits of business from Liverpool this window because it's certainly been a unique window. We'll start off with just going through some of the main transfers, some of the main talking points, because Klopp's kids are no more. Yeah, obviously, Klopp's not there, but a lot of the young, talented players that went through the squad last season, won the Carabao Cup, smashed Southampton in the FA Cup, a lot of them aren't there anymore, and it's a shame to see, but there might be a reason for it. So I suppose we're going to start off with the signings because they're the ones everyone spoke about anyway. So we're just going to get them out of the way. I mean, mamardashvili, we'll start off with him. It's certainly a transfer for the future of Liverpool. This is not something for now. He's gone on loan to Valencia. It was a deal around £25, 25 million euros, rising up to 30. I think this is great business because you've got to prepare for the future. We are seeing right now what happens when we're Salah could potentially be leaving. Trent could potentially be leaving. Van Dijk could potentially be leaving. We don't seem to have a sort of future-proofed method of replacing them at the moment. I mean, Chiesa's come in, but he's not a Salah replacement. We'll get into that in a bit. But this represents Liverpool forward thinking. This is a transfer whereby in a year or two, Kelleher is probably not going to be here. Slot spoke about that briefly in the pre-match conference for the United game. He's probably not going to be around. Alisson has agreed to stay for the length of his contract, but he's getting on in years now. We need to start looking at the idea of replacing him one day. And for me, that is such an important thing. And mamardashvili, 23 years old, such a talented keeper. We've got someone now for a long-term future, which we haven't had in a while. Like, there's a contingency plan in place now, and it's smart. You look at some of the signings that clubs have made for goalkeepers over the years in a panic. Chelsea signing Kepa after Courtois left. United signing Onana after De Gea left. Like, goalkeepers, especially first-team goalkeepers, aren't cheap. And so we've signed this one for £25 million, who could easily become a number 1. And that's so intelligent by the club. And it's a transfer that a lot of people probably didn't think we needed, something that we didn't need to look at on the pitch. but I'm happy we did. I'm so happy that we signed him. And yeah, credit to the club for that. And then we've got Federico Chiesa, who, of course, is the surprise transfer, I'd say, of the window. It's certainly up there in terms of no one thought Liverpool would be signing Federico Chiesa, let alone this window. I mean, 3 years ago, linked with the club, valued around £100 million. If you'd said to someone then, you know, we're going to have Chiesa, they'd have laughed at you. They'd have said you're an absolute maniac. But here he is for a value of £10 million. Now, to put this into context, Liverpool sold Bobby Clark, someone who had very minimal first team football, for the same price. We've sold a youth prospect who we'll touch on shortly, but there was no guarantee that he was going to break into this team. There was no guarantee that he was going to become this star midfielder. But we've sold him for £10 million, and we've brought in a talented, versatile winger, a Euros winner, a Scudetto winner, someone who can occupy that right wing when Salah isn't there and we don't have to mishmash the whole front three. That is, again, smart business. And yes, it's not the area of the pitch we needed to focus on necessarily. It's not the area of the pitch that we wanted to focus on per se. But it was another position where we need to future-proof, because Salah is not going to be here forever. And I'm operating under the assumption that Salah will be gone at the end of this season. So you need to consider all possibilities. You need to consider the fact that just having him here now, what happens when he goes? We're going to scramble, and then we're going to waste more money trying to sign a proper first team right winger. And that's money that could be used elsewhere on the pitch, the problem areas of the pitch. This is a cheap contingency, which is virtually risk-free. It's a packet of quavers costs the same nowadays. That is good value for money. Ian, hi, nice to see you, Ian. Not a failure for me. Could do better, but not a failure. And yes, I think that is the mindset of a lot of the fans is this window. Some fans will say it's been an absolute shambles, an absolute failure, FSG out, yada, yada, yada. This window has not lived up to the expectations. This has not lived up to what we thought was going to happen, especially when the Zubimendi links were being touted around. We thought we're definitely getting a number 6. It's gone the complete opposite direction, but you have to adapt to a situation. How we don't know behind the scenes that Salah hasn't said, look, I'm going at the end of this season, regardless. And the clubs went, well, now we have to sign a right winger. I don't view the window as a failure. I just think it's an odd window. Not so much in the signings, looking back now, but who we've sold. That's a little bit of a strange one for me, because Liverpool Football Club this season are going into it with, let's face it, one out-and-out number 6 in Wataru Endo, who, no disrespect to Endo, he's service, he's done a job. He's the sort of James Milner role. You know what you're getting with him when he comes in, but he's not the starting number. He's not in this Arne Slot relies so heavily on ball playing. So he has adapted Gravenberch. Gravenberch is in the same vein as McAllister as last season. He's not your number 6. He's not your out-and-out number 6 that you expect. But yet, he's playing there. And we've then gone out into this transfer window with the idea of sell young players for money, sell these young talents for money. And one who we've sold was Bobby Clark. Now, Bobby Clark is a talented player, absolutely. And I was heartbroken when he left, because we saw what he was capable of last season. And it's a strange one that of all these young crop of players that have come through the ranks, Bobby Clark is one that was looked at as, as someone who could be sold. And it's very strange because he's such a talented player. And for 10 million, we've done well in that regard. We've got good funds for him. But I find it strange how he was the one player who slot for, not for me. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. He might have done well in the slot. He probably wouldn't have. But yeah, he's gone to RB Salzburg. Credit to him for actually making that jump to a different league. He's obviously going to Pep Linda's side. And yeah, this was good in the terms of the money we received, but it was just a bit of a strange one. Another one we sold is, of course, Sepp Vandenberg, who, I said it on Reben TV, my hot take was I thought he had a passage into this team somehow. He didn't. Clearly he didn't. But yeah, he was such a... a divisive figure. I think people wanted the transfer to work so much because of what he could offer. Ian says, I think the number six destroyer is evolving out of the game, and the deep lying midfielder will be more of a Gravenberch or Mac. And I agree. I just love my number six to be a brick, thingy house. I love just having that out and out destroyer in midfield. Your Fabinhos, your Fernandinhos, your maybe not Makalele such, but like you just these powerhouses in midfield who just break up play. And it's going from the game. And maybe rightfully so, because football nowadays is so different to what it used to be. You go back and watch these older matches and it's just lump ball forward, whereas now it's so technical, so on the ball, so possession based that you need that deep player in the middle to control things, to get things moving the way you want them to. Gomez staying is a massive plus. And yes, I didn't actually get anything up for Gomez because it completely bypassed me. But yes, keeping Joe Gomez is huge. Now, people were saying that if we sell Gomez, that means we're going to go out and get another centre back. We're going to go out and sign another defender. But you're creating a problem to then fix a problem. You're not achieving anything. You're not adding to our depth. You're taking out a player in that back line or potential for that back line who you know works, who you know is capable on the ball, who you know is versatile. Get rid of him, and then you're bringing in someone who there's no guarantee they're going to do well. We all remember Kyrgios. We all remember, God Almighty. I'm trying to think of someone who was bad. We'll come back to that. But yeah, like there was no guarantee that us signing anyone new is going to work. Like Gomez has proven what he's capable of, and to me, selling him to bring in a different defender doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not. You're not fixing a problem. You're creating a problem to then get back to where you started. And yeah, Gomez staying is I was adamant he was going, more so because I think he wanted to leave, it seemed. I think he's good enough for first team football at a Premier League club, without a shadow of a doubt. And the fact that he stayed is an odd one. I think if the Gahey offer had gone through, if he went to Newcastle and then Palace were looking for a defender, I know they signed Lacroix from Wolfsburg, but it wouldn't shock me if they did look at Joe Gomez as an option. Versatility galore and a very talented player. So, yeah. But yeah, Seth Vandenberg, I thought there was going to be a way into this team for him, especially against, you know, especially in pre-season. He did very well. Apparently, the Champions League matches have been drawn, so let's have a look at this. I think that's the other one. We'll come back to this. But yeah, so apparently AC Milan is our first match. First game in the Champions League is AC Milan. History galore. Two Champions League finals between us. One to them, one to us. Yeah, so yeah, Vandenberg was one who I was convinced he was going to break in somehow. It didn't happen for him, which is a shame. But it is what it is. Absolutely. Before we carry on, everyone just please make sure to click subscribe. We're on 2,085 at the minute. We want to try and get to 3,000 by the end of the year. So please make sure that you do click it as we carry on. We're going to move on to the next. Fabio Carvalho. Now, again, another player in this slot system who seemed to do so well in pre-season, so well in those matches against Arsenal and United. He really shone. He really stood out as a player who we may see the best of him finally. Obviously, he had his issues with Klopp. He's been very vocal about that. Klopp said himself, he's nothing wrong with him. He's not injured. He's just not in the team. So there was clearly friction there. Slots come in, season games, he's absolutely smashed it, and off you pop. Which is again disappointing. But how much money we got for him? I mean, 20 odd £1 million is ludicrous for a young player who's barely played for us, whose biggest contribution was that winner against Newcastle. And we've just got that amount of money from Brentford, have given us over £50 million this transfer window for two players who have not featured regularly in our first team. And for all people will give grief to this transfer window, for all people will say, we've not signed the number six, we've not done this, we've not done that, you cannot dispute the sale power of Liverpool under the likes of Julian Ward and Michael Edwards. We've sold Jordan Ibe, Solanke, Carvalho, Vandenberg, all these players for extortionately high fees. with no justification. And it's an utter credit. And there were people earlier in the window saying, Sepp Vandenberg, we were holding out for 20 million. We've got 25 million. We hold out for a good reason. And that's, a credit to this club, the way it's ran, because it is smart business. We are so good at getting the best out of players in that regard. I was just checking to see if the Champions League matches have been announced, because obviously the games have been announced, but there's no schedule just yet, and nothing's up for me at the minute. If anyone knows in the comments, let me know the order of which they are going to be, because I haven't a clue with it. I can't see anything at the moment. Yeah, so another one, Bajcetic. This is not a sale. Don't get me wrong. We've not sold Bajcetic. Thank God, Bajcetic is not going anywhere. But we've touched on the number 6. We've touched on the fact that we've not signed that deep line player. And yet we are loaning out one of our brightest prospects in the middle of the pitch. And I can see both sides. I can see why we've done it. I can see I don't think we should have done it. So the pros and cons. Let's go for the pros first, just to be a bit positive. So he's going to a league where he is going to get plenty of game time. He's going to RB Salzburg. He's going to Pep Linda's side, the same place that we've sold Bobby. He's going to a manager who knows how to get the best out of him physically. He's working with someone who has seen him recover, who's been part of his recovery, who knows what he can do, can't do, what's best for him, what's wrong for him. You're sending him to someone who you trust, who this club trusts. And that's so important in this. You don't want to loan him to a championship side or a Premier League side, where to them it's an expendable player. It's, if he gets injured, it's on our player. Pep Lijnders will take care of Bajcetic, and that's what we need. He's been out for a whole season. He's only played once or twice, and he was right back for one of those games in the Europa League. He needs to be nurtured this season, gradually built back up, and Pep Lijnders will do that. That's exactly why we've sent him to Salzburg. Barcelona were interested in him. That would have been a poor move. Don't get me wrong, going to Barca is great, but he's not going to play. He's not going to get the game time that he will at Salzburg, and he's not going to be under a manager here where they know what to do with him. They know how to get the best out of him. And I'm happy that there's no obligation to buy. I'm happy that there's no clause in this contract that says you have to sell him to us, or we can put an offer in, or we get first dibs. Keep Bajcetic, because he is a future star midfielder for this club, and selling him would be an absolute nightmare for this club. So I'm happy that we've kept him. I'm happy that he's just going on loan. But yeah, just the general sort of consensus about this window then. I mean, I'm going to be on for like another 10 minutes or so, but I'm not disappointed. I'm really not. I'm a bit numb to it. I was never once expecting people or expecting the club to go out and sign a world-class number 6, a world-class centre-back, more depth. I kind of anticipated the transfer window slow and steady, and that's, in some regards, not a bad thing. I don't think it is a bad thing at all for this club, because you've got to consider that Slot's come into this team and he doesn't know these players. He doesn't know them from Jeff. These are new team to him, a new set of players where he's having to instill his philosophy onto them. Now, the club are going to say to him, you can buy this, you can buy that. But Slot needs time to work with this team and to see further down the line what needs improving. Don't just come in with these premeditated ideas of we need this, we need that, we need this. No one would have thought that Gravenberch was going to become the deep lying midfielder in that midfield three. And yet he has, because Slot's seen that he's capable of it. We could have gone out and signed, more centre backs. Not a problem. That's fine for depth. But at the same time, Slot needs to see how these players operate in his system. For all we knew, Diaz and Gakpo could struggle. They could absolutely stink up the place when Slot comes in. And then we need the left winger to get someone who can fit the style. And that's a problem part of the pitch that no one would have identified. Everyone's so transfixed on the number 6 role, and maybe rightfully so, because we do need that anchor in midfield. We do need that someone at the base of the midfield. But that doesn't mean that other areas of the pitch don't need addressing. And Slot's come in and he was given the time to operate through this window and see what he needed, what he does need, what he thinks we will need. He thinks we're going to need a goalkeeper eventually, so we've done that. Him coming in ripping up the handbook and doing what Chelsea have done, what United have done in the past, what Arsenal did at one point, what Tottenham did after they sold Gareth Bale. It doesn't work in a sustainable way. And people will say, but it just lacks ambition. We're not showing any ambition. We're not showing that we want to compete. That's not true, because there's a difference between buying big name players. There's a difference between signing players who are otherworldly at some point in their career and signing players who serve a function in this team in the long term. United, and I said this yesterday on Redman, United have gone for years signing players specifically for each manager. You had Moyes come in, he signed Fellaini, a very much him player. Van Gaal comes in and gets Martial, a very much him player. You've then got Mourinho coming in and signing players who are more catered to him, so that when Solskjaer then comes into the club, he's got this mishmash Frankenstein hodgepodge of players, none of who fit a system, none of whom he can get the best out of. And then the club is in a scramble to sell them. We have signed players who are functional, who are long term in a sense. Chiesa maybe not as much as mamardashvili, but they're players that every manager can get a beat out of. And Slot has taken over from a Klopp team, and rather than having to sell this and sell that and sign this and sign that, he's able to. It's in such a good place, like Klopp said, like Slot said. It's hard to improve on what we have. Doesn't mean we can't, but he's got the right players that anyone can get a beat. And that's what the club does. They sign functional players. If we were to sign a player for every different manager, specifically for them, and it doesn't work, and we sack this manager, this manager, this manager, we end up in a United situation or a Chelsea situation of this season where there's so many players in this squad that people can't, they have to sell because they don't like them. And that's not me saying our squad's perfect by any means, because it's not. But I think it can be blown out of proportion a little bit. Dark Sendo 94, thank you for commenting, says, I love Chiesa, but he is too injury prone, and Liverpool seem to have made a habit of signing injury prone bed hogs. Now, Chiesa's main injury was the ACL in 2022. Since then, he's actually been playing regularly. He played 33 times in the league last season, or 31, only missing the rest of those games, the 4, because of muscle strain. Not an injury, but exhaustion, essentially. That's what the club have said. Now, I agree with the injury-prone issue. We all remember Aquilani, Naby Keita, Thiago. We do sign injury-prone players at point, but the argument to that is we signed Aquilani, who was injured when we signed him. We've heard that recently from Rafa Benitez on the overlap. We signed Thiago knowing he was injury prone, and we signed him for about £30 million. And he never felt like a Klopp player, let's be honest. He was talented, but he never seemed to be what people would consider a Klopp midfielder. But he was 30 million. Again, Aquilani was around 20 million. Naby Keita was 50 plus million. We didn't know he was going to be injured as much as he was, but that was still expensive. Chiesa might be injury prone to an extent, but it's £10 million. It's £10 million for potential depth from a Euros winner, a Scudetto winner, someone who at one point was valued at £100 million. That's a gamble you've got to take. That is a risk you've got to take, especially in today's market. If Anthony is worth £80 million, Chiesa is worth more than 10, but we still got him for 10 million. And it represents good business from the club in the sense of, yes, he probably will get injured every now and then, but we have depth to compensate for it. If we were signing Chiesa as the answer, the out-and-out right winger, then yeah, it would be a bit of a risk, but we're not. You lose Chiesa, you've got Mo Salah. You lose Chiesa, you've got Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Jota, Nunez. We have options, and we're so fortunate to have that at this time. Any more comments, guys? Put them in the comments down below, and make sure to subscribe. We're on 2085 at the moment, so let's see if we can get that up. But yeah, just continuing the sort of the transfer window rant, so to speak. I'm not disappointed. I'm really not. I would have liked the number 6. Obviously, Mendy was the main target, which that whole thing, people are saying it's a shambles. It wasn't an issue of money. He just didn't want to leave. He just didn't want to go from Sociedad because they went on the charm offensive, apparently, and kept him. I'm disappointed by that. I'm disappointed by our business in recent windows in terms of we can't get them done. You know, Tchouaméni, Bellingham, Caicedo, Lavia, all these transfers are poor, but not overly disappointed. I would have liked that extra bit of depth in midfield, but it's done. What am I going to do? Go back? I can't go back in time and change it. This, to me, has been a transfer window I expected, just not in the way I was. I didn't think we were going to sign a right winger. I didn't think we were going to sign a goalkeeper, but I didn't think it was going to be a busy window either. We're actually in net profit at the minute. I think we've recouped £3 million with the sales of like Bobby Clark, Carvalho, Vandenberg. Owen Beck's gone on loan. Ben Doak went on loan yesterday to Middlesbrough. Nat Phillips has gone on loan. So we've loaned out a lot of the young talents, and yeah, it's an odd window. I'm not mad at it. I wish it could have been a bit more, but I'm not overly concerned. We're going into this season now with the same squad, essentially, maybe just a little less depth from the youth players, but we've got more on the right wing. We've got a contingency plan in place for goalkeeper. And like I've said, there is a long-term vision. There is an absolute long-term plan at this club. And I would rather have a club that is financially sustainable, that has a long-term plan to ensure consistent success, rather than just blow them a load on one transfer window, hundreds of millions of pounds, sign him, for it to come back and bite us in the arse later. Because there's no guarantee that we're going to get success by spending money. We've seen Chelsea, we've seen United, we've seen it at so many countless clubs. But yeah, it's just been a transfer window that's been forward thinking, just maybe not in the way people thought it would be. Okay, I stand corrected on Chiesa. Sorry, I never watched Juventus games last season, just assumed he didn't play. To be fair, a lot of people, I didn't watch Juventus last season. I expect them to be injury prone as well. I'll get the stats up for you really quick, just to give some sort of insight into how many games he did actually play last season. So going on FB Ref here, you're looking at the amount of games that he played in the 23-24 season. He played 33 matches in the Serie A, started 25 of them, 9 goals, 2 assists in the league. So, yeah, he's proven the injuries are not of a concern to him. And again, as much as I'd like to have signed that deep midfielder, I'm happy with this business because it's an area that needed addressing. And Steve said it before on Redmen. We did need the right winger. We do have to consider the future where there is no Salah, because I think it's coming sooner than people think. It's not. Watching that interview the other day, it did feel very much, this is my last year, so let's just enjoy it. He's not going to be around forever. The next area we need to focus on is signing these players to contracts. Trent more than anyone. So if we come out of this window and we announce Trent's staying for another 4 years, we've signed him on a new contract, I'm fine with that. And yeah, it might be the whole PR thing. We remember a few seasons ago where we were in the transfer window and we weren't signing anyone, we weren't doing anything, but Henderson was getting a contract, Trent got a contract, Van Dijk got a contract, and people were saying, well, this is just the cover for the fact we're not signing anyone. I don't care. Sign them up on contracts. I'll be happy ensuring, again, popping on about it, long-term vision of the club, and that has Trent at the forefront of it. The Chiesa deal, I'm happy with. Mamardashvili deal, I'm happy with. Some of the sales, I'm not overly keen on. Bobby Clark leaving, I'm not thrilled about. Badge on loan, I would have liked to have kept them at the club for that extra bit of depth, but I understand why we've had to loan them out, get them up to fitness, send them to a familiar manager. Absolutely fine with that. Nat Phillips, I would have liked to have seen him sold. I don't know. Another loan for him at this point just feels cruel. It feels like we were being stubborn more so than we were with Vandenberg, trying to get a higher fee for him. And it's not happened. And that's a shame, because Nat Phillips deserves first team football from somewhere. He absolutely deserves to go somewhere and smash it, because we saw at Bournemouth when they got promoted how good he is. And he needs to be able to show that on a permanent basis, because he's getting to the twilight of his career now, and keeping him and just sending him on loan after loan after loan just feels harsh. From a humanitarian standpoint, it just feels cruel. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of this window. Give it a ranking of 1 to 10. Let me know why. Let me know, are you happy, sad, annoyed? What do you make of it? Because if I was to give it a rating, I'd say 6. Not bad, not good. Could have done more, could have done better. Like a C. C minus, something like that. Again, would have loved certain things to happen, but he didn't. Alan Varela was another player we were linked with, and I think because everyone was in such a scramble to sign someone, like we were just so adamant that we had to sign someone. Anyone was just becoming a viable option. Was it Cherky? Cherky was another one. Yeah, like Alan Varela is the final piece in the jigsaw. Alan Varela versus Martin Zubimendi. It is interesting, and I would have liked to have signed that number 6, but it didn't happen, and we're just gonna have to live with that fact going into this season because, yeah, it is what it is. We can't do anything from it. But like I said, guys, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought. Please make sure to click like, and I'm going to be doing more of the just in between videos coming out. There's another video going to be coming out in the next couple of days, giving a bit of a breakdown on Manuel Ugarte, who's gone to Man United from a tactical and statistical standpoint. Really struggled there. I went out last night, so but yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to click subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video, guys. Have a good